Give a damn about a hater when I feel like it. Not today, not today, not today, not tomorrow. Get out my way, please, I'm trying to get paid. Not today, not today.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, what is going on? Back with you again for another edition of the Bully the Board meeting. It's your boys, as always, Seth, Kevin, and Steve. How you guys doing?
Good. How are you?
We're doing good, man. Everything is good so far, I think. A little production on the intro there, so we're gonna keep playing with that and see how it goes. But
that's a banger, man. Yeah, you produced that yourself, Kevin?
Shout out. Yeah, I got the artist in the studio. We banged it out in like 5 hours. All nighter.
No biggie. You need a producer tag now.
Kevin on the track.
Yeah. Exactly right. Yeah, man. Okay. Well, listen, the divisional round officially in the books, week 20 in the books. No one even calls it week 20 at this point anymore. It's just the divisional round, but whatever, all good. Conference championships on deck, man. So we're going to get into everything that happened with the model and then the games that happened, and then as well as some look ahead to the two conference championship games here, man. So Seth, what was your feelings? What were you most intrigued by with what happened just in the games broadly in this weekend? Because it was a hit or miss kind of a weekend in terms of the actual games, right?
Yeah. That Jags game was actually quite a good game. Obviously, you hate to see Mahomes get hurt there. Henny comes in, drives like 98 yards. That had me shaking in my boots because I'm like, if they can't stop Henny, I don't know what they're going to do with Mahomes. But the model was pretty spot on here. Even though I would call that a pretty pseudo backdoor. We covered there at the last seconds, but they had a chance to win this game, and it was, they were in it until basically they weren't, and that those red zone turnovers were basically everything. But man, this was far from a dead bet. This thing was live all the way until it basically cashed, and 2 red zone turnovers in the fourth. I mean, this thing, the money line was live. It was so live that the Super Bowl odds for Jags pregame were plus 3,300. In game, they moved to plus 2,400. So FanDuel and other books were shaking in their boots because they're like, oh, okay, they could actually do this. So I'm glad we covered that game because the model was kind of spot on there.
Yeah, I know, Steve. I don't know. Like when Henny came in, man, I was thinking, shit, do I need to I was keeping an eye on the Jags money line. Like I hadn't played it like you did, Seth, prior to, but I was like, man, I don't know what's going on here. But then to your point, like he was driving and like holding his own. I'm like, oh shit, if they can't stop him, Jags might get run out of the building. But they did their own, man.
Yeah, I think 2 things. One, we called it last weekend. This game made me feel like a sharp, right? And I agree with you, Seth. There was a pseudo backdoor, but fuck it, score one for the good guys. I mean, how many times we've been backdoored the wrong way, right? So,
no, exactly. Shit. Yeah. That was a front door, side door, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Now I will say though, when Henny came in, I was actually pretty nervous before the drive started. And I don't have the stats on this, but I can just tell you from watching enough NFL games and as my expert as a high school starting cornerback, I don't know what it is, but if Mahomes was out before pregame, right? I think Jags would have dominated that game. But there's something about an in-game quarterback change that you don't game prep for. Like it's tough. I feel like we see it all the time. Again, I have no stats on that. That is just anecdotal experience. I feel like there's always that adjustment period, and it takes teams a little bit to figure that out. They don't game plan for them. So I'm glad we covered. You're right, Seth. That game was live all the way through until it wasn't. But yeah, man, score one for the good guys.
Yeah.
Fortunately, speaking of the opposite, or let me talk about the opposite of being alive. Dead on arrival was the Giants versus the Eagles. Man, that shit was just ugly from the start. Philly minus 1.5 on the lower end of the conference intervals. Just never had a shot.
No. I mean, it was all gas, no brakes, 100%. Yeah. We were. I got a good one for you guys. So I live in Philadelphia, so we were at a bar watching the game, and I mean, the rumors are true. This city and its sports and football particularly, it's a different vibe. But we were at this bar and they have a DJ and then they play the game when the game's on and then they play music when the game is on. But it was such a blowout that I think in the third quarter the DJ is doing his thing and he literally played the Whopper song, BK Whopper Whopper, and had that thing banging in the club, dude. I mean, we're like the game he transitioned, it's just Whopper, Whopper, and the whole bar just Whopper, just going ham. It was one of the funniest things I'd seen in a long time. But that's how much the blowout it was. Like the bar was like more entertained by the commercial song being played
in Philly. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, in Philly. Yeah, so. Whew, it was.
Yeah, so which wasn't all that bad because we'll talk about the future in a second here. So we're no harm, no foul in terms of it being a no bet for the model. But and then same thing with the Niners and the Giants. Even though, and I think Niners scored the field goal first, but then Dallas scored the first touchdown. It never quite moved far enough. I think Niners were favored the entire game still.
No, it did. 3.5 was doable at 142 when Dallas was in the red zone. They were about to score, and I was like, okay, well, they're going to score. They're going to score. I'll be able to for sure get it at better. I'll get it at 120, 110. And the literal next play, Dak throws an interception. So it could have been had.
Okay.
I was greedy because I had that thing because I was like, I mean, it was a pretty close game, to be honest. I mean, we should, obviously we'll break that game down. But I mean, I had my eye on that, and it got close a couple times, but basically it was only in the actual window for maybe 30 seconds, a minute, and then Dak threw the interception, which is basically the story of this game. If Dak plays a little bit better, I think they actually win. Dallas had every chance to win that game.
I know, Steve. Dude, I don't know when the hell. Maybe it's this weekend against the Eagles. We'll see. But Purdy wasn't like superhuman or anything, but he just continues to like defy quote unquote logic in terms of being a rookie and like hitting the rookie wall and stuff. Like, what the hell?
I don't know, man. I have a hot take on this.
Do tell.
I think the 49ers are pseudo frauds. So let me explain. The 49ers, we go through the EPA stuff every week, right? They're in a league of their own defensively, right? They are a great defensive team. There's no one doubting that. Yeah. But Brock Purdy is undefeated, and give the kid credit where credit is due. I'm not taking anything away from him, but in this playoff run, they've beat who so far, right? Like they've gone through and they have beat a Dallas team who we all know Dallas chokes in the playoffs, right? They ended the year with some fairly soft competition. I'm just curious. To see what happens with the 49ers versus the Eagles. I think that's a wake-up call, and I think Brock Purdy goes that's the wall he hits when you talk about Kevin. I think that's where it happens next week.
Well, so fair to say that Purdy's the pseudo fraud, not necessarily the team.
Okay,
yeah, but here's the thing. That doesn't get as much likes, right? We're going for clickbait.
No, I agree. Other than Dallas, they hadn't really played anybody. And I think that game showed us that Purdy isn't this like, I mean, when it was like 3rd and long, he was doing some wild stuff. And quite frankly, if Kittle doesn't tip, and Diggs just misses the interception, like that game was a thin margin. And this was not a blowout. Now, we weren't expecting a blowout here. But, I mean, the reality was Purdy didn't show us some crazy game that it's like, oh, man, San Francisco's unstoppable. Now, I don't know. We know that Dallas was the most volatile team coming in. They're the 32nd out of 32 teams ranked in volatility, a.k.a. they played the most wild week to week. And I don't think that's surprising. We saw that over and over. We saw Dak do a lot of wild things. The offense was either on or they off. That was that game where they barely made it out of Houston. They lost in the last seconds to Jags. I mean, there was like all these weird things. So I'm with you. I mean, that game gave me a little bit more confidence that the San Francisco team isn't this like crazy unstoppable offense.
Right.
I don't think it's going to from hedging though, because we'll talk about that too. But you're still we still might have a hedge in our future. But
we may.
Hey, I was just curious. It's kind of off topic, but who do you think is under more heat in Dallas, Dak or Brett Maher, the kicker? Because to me that was my playoff weekend. The most exciting thing about this game was how many more PATs is Maher going to miss?
Yeah, because he's lucky he got that blocked. Like I was going.
Oh God,
he got blocked.
Yeah,
good for him.
Yeah, exactly.
Kickers
Yeah,
are. I mean, you're paying Dak what, like 40 million, so it's harder to
a lot.
probably get rid
It's
of.
hard to argue against that aspect. Yeah.
Or is it he's the easier skate, or is he the harder scapegoat? It's like, oh, well, no, that's the golden boy. Find me a scapegoat.
Maybe.
Give me Brett.
He's got to go. Yeah, maybe. I mean, to that point, like if anyone's going to be gone due to some monumental screw up, it's going to be the kicker as opposed to Dak, right? So,
yeah.
All right, and then the last one.
Weird time to get the yips. Oh, I was just gonna say that's a weird time to get the yips. I don't know. I don't remember seeing anything like that. Like,
that was wild.
And it just seems so random. Like they blow out. I don't know. Just such a weird.
Very, very true. Yeah. So then the other one that was on the other game that weekend, the Bills hosting the Bengals, and this one maybe shouldn't have been that surprising. Kind of looking back at it, but like optically, it was pretty surprising how the Bills played. They were favored going into it. Cincy just rolled down the field early and really just didn't stop. And Bills seemed like they were out of their own sorts. It's like a top to bottom failure, right?
Yeah,
on this one by the Bills.
It looked bad.
Yeah. And I'm not surprised that the Bengals necessarily won, right? I think everyone was talking about the O line. They lost 2 O linemen, they up to 3. You go by the original roster, right? What are they going to do with this good Bills defense? But we talked about the last week. The Bills defense has been suspect. And no one really wants to talk about that. And you can game plan
any pressure on Burrow at all.
Yeah. Well, but also you can game plan for like quick passes, quick throws, get out of his hand quickly.
Yeah.
You can compensate for that. And they just had no answers for those receivers. I mean, that was tough to watch. Sometimes I have some friends who are hardcore Bills fans. Shout out Mo, shout out Rishi. I mean, man, that was tough to watch.
Yeah,
I mean, unfortunately,
I don't disagree with you on the defense thing, but I think what I saw from that game was what we had seen glimpses of on the offense, where Josh Allen just like something goes off and the dude just is like trying to win the game, like it's 11-on-1, and he's gonna like Michael Jordan his way to the end zone. And they just couldn't do anything offensively. It reminded me when they played, ironically, the Finns the week before, and then early in the season when they played the Jets and ended up losing. Like, I don't know, maybe it was the injury. It did the injury to his elbow. It was a big deal, and then it just kind of went away. But how does that injury get better? Like, I mean, if it's your throwing arm, elbow,
right?
Was that the reason that? Now the interesting thing is, it looks like he could sling the ball. So I don't know. It just did. They were really dominant in the beginning, and then
that was one of those prevailing stories coming out of the game. Though, is his elbow, and he needs rest, and blah blah. So you could tell there was, quote unquote, an excuse for how they played, without it being overtly stated.
Yeah.
So I'm sure it was a factor.
Yeah, and then the Diggs like basically he just dipped out. I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what they do. I mean, they're not I forget the Bills GM. Like he had like a viral clip today where he's like, we're not in the same situation as the Bengals because we have to pay we're not on rookie contracts, so we have to pay all these players. So it's like they're much more limited on how long they can keep paying everybody and keeping everybody together. So it's like, did the Bills once again miss their window? I don't know. It's tough. That game looked bad. We'll see what they do in the offseason. But that game was tough. That was tough for
So basically a split on the weekend, 1-1, kind of technically officially. So
don't get greedy. I let the haters get in my head. I should 142. I would have totally taken it, but I got so greedy.
All right, yeah. So let's peek behind the curtain a little bit here, and then let's look at the efficiency stuff here. And Quadrant of Elite, man. And there's really any surprise as to the 4 teams that are left standing?
Yeah, and look at the Giants, right? Like how they were pretty much fish out of water defensively. 100%, 100%. I mean, this is why you use EPAs. They're predictive, right? This is why you use these types of metrics and things like that.
So then using a little more kind of a weighted scale, so to speak, looking at the last 5 weeks or 6 weeks, I guess. Kind of same story. I mean, you have. Hold on. Where's the? Oh, sorry. Eagles are right there. Mixing with who's that? The Packers? I can't tell.
Yeah, the Packers and Eagles are right on top of each other. And then you got Jags, LA Chargers, and Bengals kind of clustered. And then the thing that stands out is 49ers. They've been on a roll. But like Steve said, like they played in that stretch, they played one team, and that's Dallas. That's one tough defense, one good, let's say, overall team. And that was Dallas.
Yeah. So I haven't heard any rumblings on Jalen Hurts' injury recently. Does he seem to be?
Yeah, everybody practiced today. The big scare was AJ Brown, because that's why he was out of the game. He was injured. He practiced today. I don't know to what degree, but they're basically saying he may or may not play. Okay. So I don't know.
Interesting. Yeah. So, I mean, somewhat maybe ironically enough, and some of this obviously has to do, we've talked about this, the fact that Minshew started a couple of games here. The Eagles are, technically speaking, by this metric, the least efficient offensive team left in the field, right? But again, take that kind of with a grain of salt, I would say a little bit. But despite that, that matchup in particular is kind of it's big, just period, right? But big for us, kind of specifically, because we are still riding hard and heavy with the futures, baby. So looks like you have an updated screen grab here of the cash out. This was today, right?
Yeah. So the Eagles are favored in every book to win it all. So it went from Sunday, once the matchup was released, it went from like 900 to
clarify, 11. Win the matchup or favor for the Super Bowl?
So once they won the game on Saturday, it went from the 680 or whatever to like 980. And then once the matchup for this week's game was finally set after the San Francisco game, it went to like 1180. And then with the line movement of Kansas City, they all updated and moved Philly to the favorite. So then it went up to whatever it is now, 1281. Man, I've been racking my brain. I've been trying to do math that doesn't even exist.
On the perfect hedge scenario.
Yeah. Well, the problem is because it's a two-legger and there's a kind of dynamic aspect to this. Like, there's no if there is a math problem, it's beyond my capabilities. Because I mean, so the reality is you can hedge, but then like it's very difficult to figure out what the optimal answer is. The best thing I can the good thing is, so let's talk about the good things. San Francisco is a dog this week, so it pays right now. I can find it like plus 125. So that's good. So if you bet money line, you get a little extra, you get a little extra something. Yeah. Now the interesting thing is basically this is where you get screwed. You actually get screwed if you hedge here and Philly wins, but then you go to the Super Bowl and Kansas City or Bengals win. So you hedge here and then you hedge in the Super Bowl. Sure. Philly loses and the other team wins. You end up winning like $500 or something, like, because basically, because if you bet like $1,500 here and then on the next one you bet $2,000 or $2,500, well, if Philly loses and the other team wins, you only win you win back $2,000, let's say, but you lost $1,500 to get here, so you only end up with $500. Now $500 better than zero, 100%. So I don't know. Now this is where it gets further complicated. How deep is your love? Because the model fucking loves Philly. It has them winning by 10. When we'll talk about the game, we'll break it down. But I don't know. I really don't know.
I guess along those lines, and this really doesn't carry a ton of weight, I think, for you or for this ticket per se. But we crowdsourced what we should do on TikTok, and it got a lot of play, got a lot of responses and whatever. And it's not that what's the word I want to say? It's relatively even in terms of cash out or let it ride.
So this one is becoming quite different than the other one. So 55%. So we've had about like 1,200 people vote. So 55% cash out, you fool. The other one, 45% say let that thing ride. So I don't know. That kind of honestly, offense met in this. The TikTok crowd, I kind of want to fade them, to be honest, because some of the comments make no sense. Like
Oh, yeah,
cash it out right now. Philly has 0% chance, or Philly's like a horrible team. It's like,
yeah.
like they're in the NFC Championship game. What are you talking about?
Like,
Like,
what are we doing here?
yeah, they're literally favored to win the Super Bowl in any book. But I don't know. This is tough. I'm not gonna lie. I will say the model leaning to basically that they're gonna win makes me feel that I should just let it ride for this week. But man, this thing going to 0, that's the other thing too. It doesn't really feel that significant. Now, on any day, if I woke up and you said you want $1,200, I would say yes. But like,
sign me up, right?
But if you're like, or you could get $5,400 tomorrow, and I'd be like, okay, what's
or
my
in
risk?
2 weeks or whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's my risk? No risk. You just have to hold on, and there's a probability you get nothing, but there's a probability you get $5,400, which is way more significant to my bankroll. Like the 1,200, yes, okay. Like again, like I don't want to sound like a douche here, but it's just like it. I don't know, but at the same time, this is only the perspective of somebody that hasn't lost the 1,200, almost $1,300, right? But
Steve, where do you fall? Where do you fall?
Way more than that this season, so
yeah,
I'm
conditioned.
Steve, do you have a side of the fence you're on this one? Based off last,
I mean, come on, guys. Yeah, I feel like I'm the resident degenerate here. That's all in. That's all in. Like there is no hedge. This is all in. I would say double down. Yeah, no, for sure. No, I think you have to let this thing ride for sure. At least now the question is, okay, what's the hedge here? Part of me, because we're in pretty deep here, right? So obviously the odds are going to be dramatically lowered, right? Philly's favorite now, so they're negative. Now, but actually, I know. So, what do you remember what the odds were?
Yeah. So this is an interesting fact. This, of course, right? Of course, this season. This is the first season in 20 years where none of the last 4 teams have odds shorter than plus 200. Meaning there's no clear consensus.
Yeah.
Like the odds are still quite long for all of the teams. Usually by now in these last 4, there's a clear cut consensus. Whether they win or not.
Sure.
Is different. But yeah, this is basically the last 4 remaining teams have the longest odds. It's like plus 230 for Eagles, plus 250 for Bengals. Here I can pull it up. And then I think San Francisco is the most at plus 300, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, that's all. That's right there.
Yeah.
Oh, nice and
cozy.
Now,
let me just throw some mad scientist ideas at you here, Seth. Because again, you asked earlier, my brain was racking. I guess my ultimate question is how comfortable do you feel about Philly winning this weekend?
I don't know. I don't know what's up, what's down. I'm trying to have more faith in the model. So let me just recap the current odds. Plus 230 for Eagles, plus 260 for Bengals, plus 280 for Kansas City, and plus 320 for San Francisco.
Okay. Because my thought was if you think if in that part what you think, part what does the model say, right? If it's just this is me talking to Seth. This is not me talking to BTB Seth. This is me talking to part of me saying, all right, well, there's really no advantage of doing. My first thought was doing 2 parlays, right? Taking 49ers and Cincy and 49ers and Chiefs, but when you break the math down because of the plus money, it ends up being risking 1,000 for either 1,100 or 1,200, which would be the same thing if you just put all 1,000 on San Francisco money line, right?
Yeah.
So then the thought came, well, shit, what if you bought the point for SF plus 3.5? And now
that both somebody's commented this, and I just wanted to be like, I gotta show Steve this because someone said you should take San Francisco plus 3 and try to double dip. I'm like, you gotta be kidding me.
I don't know if there's really a good answer. I'm with you though. It's that's tough. I'm because you're right. If you hedge here, lose, and then get for the Chiefs or the Bengals, whoever comes out,
whoever the AFC, and then they win. That's where you get, but it still locks up like a little bit. You get something better than 0. But this is what it sounds so douchey, but okay, 13's starting to get there, but like 13 versus 0 is like it's not that far. Where like I would start being like I gotta cash this thing, or like I definitely gotta hedge it if I could get like 2,500.
Sure.
So you're leaning towards letting it ride is maybe what I'm hearing.
I don't know what I'm not leaning towards anything. I really wanted the optimal play here, and the optimal play, I can't get a grasp of what it is. I know that makes no sense. So I feel like if that's the case, then maybe the optimal play is to.
Well, you don't have to make your decision today, now, but it's clear that you are a conflicted man.
I'm conflicted. I've been trying to figure out every which way. I'm like, okay, can I take San Francisco money line and then Bengals, Kansas City future? Like, what is the math? Like,
Classic Seth. Yeah,
you can get to an answer, but like, it's just a little bit like sad because you can't for sure predict exactly the outcomes of all of these. So like, you're forced, if you're going to truly hedge, you need if you're going to hedge now, you have to hedge later, right? It doesn't make sense to, I guess you could hedge now and Philly wins. And then you say, all right, let's ride now. Cause now it's just one game.
Yeah, but then if you lose, now you've double lost, or you lost your initial investment plus.
Yeah, you've lost double.
So what's the point of the head?
That's the exact gambler. Like that's exactly what will happen. Like, that one time I almost won 5.4K, but I ended up losing $2,000.
Right.
Yeah.
My 2 cents.
Yeah,
I'll say very little on it, but I would, at this point,
you guys are like my devil and angel.
Yeah, having come this far with these long odds, I would really hate myself if I walked away with nothing.
Okay, actually, let's talk about it because we used this methodology last year.
Yep.
And guess what? It worked, which is why we used it this year. And what did we have? Kevin, because I didn't survive to the end of the season because of degenerateness. But we had identified LA Rams as value at the beginning of the season, and you had a future. You had a future for LA, and you made it to divisional. No, when did you make it to? I don't remember. You tell me.
It was divisional when they played the Bucks, and they were going to Tampa Bay, and I was like, Tampa Bay is going to take this.
Yeah.
Obviously, did not happen. They go on to win it, and I was left with. I think I basically like 1.5. I made 150% return.
Okay.
Which was grand scheme of things better than nothing. But having only hindsight is 20/20, obviously. But I don't hate myself for it. I would have obviously preferred to have held and taken the whole thing.
Yeah, and you obviously know the outcome. So let me ask you this question though: Do you think it was a mistake? Do you view that as a mistake, or do you like, no, I made money and then you could never go broke making a profit?
I view it as a mistake. I wish I would have hedged instead.
Yeah. I guess this is the tough question, because if you were to ask me, well, what is the number? Like, what is the number where you for sure have to? Yeah. I can tell you I kind of have an idea, and I think it's in that 2,500 range, but like, I don't know. Then I'd be like, well, but I want to get 3,000.
Sure.
I don't know.
I don't know. Yeah, there's.
I'm keeping an eye on this AJ Brown stuff, because if he's injured, I think I got to start hedging, because I think he's a big part of their offense. But because the model doesn't know that, right? That he would be injured. But assuming all cylinders, it's hard for me to. And like, there's always the in-game thing. Like, if it's third quarter and it's like really, 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 really close, like, okay, then I can assess and understand, okay, well, this is a coin flip game. I don't really want to lose all this money on a coin flip, and I can put in a bet for San Francisco.
Just please, just make sure we're here next week talking about this live ticket or the fact that you pocketed something. Okay, I'm just gonna leave it at that.
Can I have one more thought real quick?
please.
I'm sorry. One more time. Can you read what are the odds again for Super Bowls?
Yeah, it's plus 230 for Philadelphia, plus 260 for Cincinnati, plus 280 for Kansas City, and plus 320 for San Francisco.
Okay. Okay. So hold on, right? So
Here we go.
Yeah.
So you're gonna right. So you said you have so 2,500 is kind of like that. That's where you think like, man, I gotta really start walking away. That might be the threshold, right?
Yeah.
And so the current plan right now would be if you hedge, you said you would hedge 1,000 on SF this weekend, and then
I think 1,500. I think 1,500. So because if you do the math, right? If you play this out, if you did, so your ticket's worth $5,425. If you bet 1,500 and the Eagles win, your ticket, if the Eagles then win the Super Bowl, is worth $3,925. Okay, but if you want to hedge the Super Bowl, then you need to bet some amount larger than 1,500 to get any amount of profit, and obviously you can limit your upside for the Eagles bet, so you could bet 3,000. And then assuming it's just say it's plus 100 odds, I don't know if that'll be the case, but let's just say you would win 3,000, but you would have lost 1,500. You win 1,500. But now if you lose that game and you bet 1,300 and you bet 1,500, or sorry, you bet 3,000 and you bet 1,500, you lost both of those. You win $900 or something like that. Yeah. So it's just like,
so what if instead of doing, let me think this out loud real quick.
Okay.
What if so pretty much in this scenario you have to do a double hedge, right? Where you're doing double the hedge now, hedge next week.
Well,
right?
doesn't it? Because why hedge now?
Probably.
If you're just gonna let it ride next week, then you're
no. I'm with you. I agree. No, I agree.
Yeah.
No, I agree. So, but I guess what I'm saying is, so instead of doing the 1,500, what if because you have to, you're making a bet next week anyway. What if you did 750 on SF to win the Super Bowl as your SF hedge, right?
Yeah.
And then and let's say if the Eagles win, now you're out 750, and then you can do the 1,500, the Super Bowl weekend.
You kind
of
now
now you're down. What's that? Yeah, right. So now so now you're only down 2,250 compared to the 4,500 or whatever, or maybe you do whatever it is, right? You're halving your risk this week. And if SF wins, now you have a new ticket for 2,400 plus your 750. So that 3,100, and then you just take that hedge for the Super Bowl if it's Bengals or Chiefs versus San Francisco.
But doesn't that just ultimately lead to like a $1,500 win?
Better than 900.
Well, I can make 1,300 right now. That's what it's like. Oh God! Like, look at this. I know a couple things. I know this number is not the optimal number because I know they don't. Sure. They fucking do some shit, but I can't seem to figure out the math of like what is the optimal number. It's so tricky because of this dynamic nature of like if you win this,
part of it,
this one, and like
And you also don't know what the odds are going to be.
Okay, well, so they did
for the Super Bowl matchup.
FanDuel had the Super Bowl odds. It was Philly -1 for everybody. Philly was
no matter who they
-1.
play, whether they play Bengals or Chiefs.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Meaning that it's going to be like right around -1.
Yeah, you're going to get barely, maybe even money. All right, man. Godspeed. Please, just let's be talking about.
No, can we just go one step back? I just want to talk our shit. This is 2 seasons in a row. 2 seasons in a row where we've used this methodology to identify the Super Bowl, quote unquote value, right? Everyone talks about value. Buying low, selling high. This ticket is worth it has way longer odds than it should be, and we've identified that. And we've identified that in one of the biggest markets, Super Bowl, 2 years in a row, using the same methodology. And we're getting better. Like we took a plus 3,000. I mean, I know like it was tough early on. We're like, this is ugly. This one hurts. But this is why you kind of trust your process. Like if anything we should take away from this season, it is exactly that analysis. Trust the process. Assuming your process is vetted, assuming you have a lot of evidence for the process working, but like this type of stuff is like why you do that in the first place. So I just want to shout us out because we've done that 2 years in a row now. Can we finally make the big money on one of them? That's to be determined. But
sure. Yeah, and to that point, we'll be doing it again next year. Guarantee it. Because both times the tickets are placed well before or maybe preseason, basically.
August 1st. This has a date of August 1st.
Yep. So there's plenty of data to be had, even preseason. No doubt about it. Okay.
Shout out.
Skipping a jump into the conference championship weekend here. This is maybe for those who pay close attention. There's not 3 games here, obviously, but the Bengals and the Chiefs play each other, and I think this is maybe first time, technically speaking, we've had both ends of the intervals on the card.
Yeah, it is. We'll talk a little bit about it on that game. And that was when we set out. But to be honest, I went and did some analysis. The interval bets would have been they would have actually won, but the problem is a lot of the games it would have never met 150 or not this season.
Sure.
So there wouldn't have been
no official model play this week. The lines are pretty tight, and the stats just don't bear it out to take one side or the other. But kind of like we have been doing, and again, this one, there's each game is going to have a live line to watch, and I think all 3 of these could be attainable based on how the games have played, or how these teams have played out so far, and just how in-game weirdness can happen. So let's get into it a little bit here. So the Niners go into Philly. The line to watch is Philly plus 3.5 here, and it's, what do we say, 2.5 right now? Philly minus 2.5 or 3.
Yeah, minus 2.5 Philly. Yeah. Model prediction, the median or the average of the model is 10. It likes Philly by 10, but with the confidence interval, it actually would be plus 3, but you can't get full numbers on FanDuel. So 3.5.
So maybe just for anyone watching, maybe for the first time or having a hard time interpreting what you're seeing here.
Yeah.
That second box there with the home team and away team, and the prediction, the PRED, that's the prediction. It's saying that Philly is going to win by 10.2 points, right?
Yeah.
But those last 2 columns, the lower and upper 60%, are what we have been doing, what we provide, which we think is differently than anybody else, is a prediction interval. So that means Philly could lose from anywhere, or it can lose by 2.4 all the way to win by 22.8 points, right?
Yep. There's a 60% chance that's where the true outcome of the game will end up, in that range.
Yeah, so that is why Philly plus 3.5, which resides outside of that range, it would be a play, because that's where the quote unquote statistical edge is at that point. So first box, looking at net APAs, these teams are just pound for pound, tit for tat. Basically, they're very, very similar in that respect. So by all accounts, this should be a good game. Yeah.
Yeah. So I was looking at the EPAs, stratified by pass and run, and this is one of the graphs that we have on the website. And one of the things because I keep hearing, San Francisco runs the ball really well. But the thing is, if you look at their actual EPA per play for the season, their average EPA per run is negative. They're not efficient on the run from a scoring standpoint. Philly is actually the last team in the playoffs right now that has an efficient pass and run offense. So I think that's quite interesting, because what did we see last week? I mean, I don't want to say CMC bailed them out, but that game was not this blowout where Purdy was just slanging the ball. And really that's where a lot of their efficiencies come from. It's from their pass game. So I don't know how that affects this game. Does that make it just way more difficult for that San Francisco defense that is the best at being able to stop both pass and run? And because they're both, scoring and getting a lot of efficiency on both those plays, do we see that ends up being the kind of ball game where San Francisco may not be able to keep up if we're seeing a Philly defense that can slow down their pass? I don't know. That's kind of where I see that matchup, where I have questions around, can San Francisco be this dominant team that we've seen?
Yeah.
It's going to come down to your boy, represent Gilbert, Arizona, Brock Purdy. We'll see.
I didn't realize that. I didn't realize that he's from Gilbert. That's
yeah,
crazy.
He is. Yeah, which is, for anyone wondering, that's where I actually set both.
Yeah, this is the most
Something
Gilbert
I
thing
grew up there.
ever, though. I saw a clip of him talking about Jesus, and I was like, "Where's this guy from?"
Yeah.
Gilbert, Arizona. I go.
Is he Mormon?
I don't know. I didn't want to look because I was like, but I'm just like,
Whatever,
of course he is. Of
Yeah.
course he is.
Shout out.
Perry High School. Shout out, Gilbert, man, good for him. And then this is a rematch. I didn't know.
I didn't know this either. This was circulating, right? Yeah, go ahead.
Collegiate,
Iowa State versus Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
Now, I didn't do my homework. I don't know when this game took place, or like if it was a bowl game, or I guess it wouldn't have been a bowl game because they're both in the Big 12. But I have no idea the context of the game. But it was a high scoring game.
Yeah. It was. So I think people are pointing back to that and being like, ooh, maybe, yeah, it's gonna be a good high scoring game, which maybe, but a good game nonetheless, right? So that's really, it's gonna be tight.
I don't know. I mean,
so
obviously I'm in my head here. Like I've got so much.
I know you are. You got skin in the game, baby. Big time.
A lot of skin too. Like I just think that Philly, like San Francisco, that game with Dallas really showed me a lot. Like this team can be slowed down. Like if Dak plays a mediocre game, do you guys think that San Francisco loses? Like, do you think San Francisco still wins that game if Dak plays? Just give me average. Just give me game manager.
Right. No. I think if Dak played regular season Cowboy football, the Cowboys win. It's whatever it is about the playoffs, man. But yeah, no, I mean, to your point though, Seth, again, we talked about this before. Take out the Cowboys game last week, right? Seahawks, Cardinals, Raiders, Commanders, Seahawks, Bucks, Dolphins. Which one of those teams are better than the Eagles? Which one of those teams are even in the same stratosphere?
As Washington beat the Eagles, but that was one of their only losses.
Yeah. So I don't know, man. I think this is the game where we're gonna really see who Brock Purdy is. We're gonna really see who the Niners are.
And so I went back because the season happened really fast. But do you guys remember? I think it was Week 8. Kansas City played San Francisco. Now this is pre-Purdy. But that is one of the last times. Okay, so there's two games that stand out. That game is the last time they played a really, really efficient offense.
And got blown out.
And then look back to remember we had this disagreement for the model. You guys heavy San Francisco versus Vegas.
Oh yeah.
And that game went to overtime. And what was the common denominator? Super, super efficient pass EPAs. Both of those teams can throw the ball really efficiently. Obviously, Kansas City is the best, but actually, the Raiders are quite well at throwing the ball when they actually get a chance to. Shout out David Carr, but Derek Carr. Is David Carr's brother?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, shout out to both of them. So I don't know. I just have that question here because the Eagles are. We don't have it as part of this video, but if you go to the website, you can see the Eagles are the only team left that is efficient on run and pass, and they're very efficient on both. Like their offense is balanced, and they can score, and they do score on the run, with the run, and with the pass. So I don't know. I've kind of identified those two teams, and let's say I've convinced myself. But I mean, the model agrees with all of that stuff. Like it's modeling all those things too. And it's coming up with this 10 number. And I think that's mostly by looking at that pass efficiency.
Yeah. I think that's statistical analysis term for what the Eagles are a problem, right? Like they're going to be a problem. So I'm with you. We'll see.
To your point earlier, if AJ Brown does seem to be slowed down for whatever reason, I mean, that will be a factor in how much less efficient are they if he's not full go. Don't forget too, they didn't have Goddard for like half the season. That guy is in every sense of the word, the safety net. Like he's reliable as fuck, right? He's really good. He's really good tight end. So that could be something that was, if AJ Brown is hampered, the Goddard factor is not to be unnoticed.
So I have the splits open in front of me. This is interesting to see. So Philly passes the ball 56% of the time and runs it 43%. San Francisco passes the ball 56% of the time, and they have they have fewer punts, so they end up running the ball about 45% of the time. So that's why the numbers are a little bit different. But that's quite interesting. These teams are very similar, but again, the big difference is San Francisco actually doesn't get a lot of efficiency from running the ball. They're running the ball to set up the pass. And so if you basically get in a Purdy, try to sling off like the whatever game we're trying to replicate, I don't think that that would be a big edge for the Eagles to play that type of game, because they can do both. Because you're going to get some points off the run, whereas San Francisco just running the ball to throw it. They're just trying to set up the pass. So,
but we'll see. Yeah, I mean, if the Niners do score first, if they score a touchdown first, and maybe Philly has to punt early or something, like 3.5 is not that far off. So it really is not going to take a whole lot to get there.
A San Francisco score first drive will probably allow you to get it at 150 or better. It'll probably be like 130.
Yeah.
And then
so
keep an eye.
Yeah, keep an eye on it, but hang on tight is right, man. Yeah. All right, this one.
I've hyped myself up. I feel like as close to Steve that I think I can ever feel. Like I'm hedging. I ain't fucking leaving. I've got myself hyped about that bet about Philly, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, how poetic would it be, man? Right? Maybe the one thing
3 touchdowns.
Let's not go there.
That's really,
all right, baby.
let's
talk.
Do struggle on defense, but yeah, I don't know.
That's true. All right, other game of the weekend. It's going to be the Bengals going to the Chiefs. Line right now has kind of jumped because this one's weird. I think with the Patrick Mahomes thing, I think it opened basically at -2 or 2.5 Chiefs, swung all the way to +1 Chiefs, and I don't know where it's at right now. Even
+2. It's +1 and pick'ems. That's the market ad that has.
Yeah.
For +1's Kansas City.
Yeah, so there's been some interesting movement here, and I think it's predominantly related to the Mahomes injury situation. So we'll see how that progresses. No boot though, like he's apparently good to go, right? Like super Mahomes just fucking healing like Wolverine or some shit with a high ankle sprain. Jesus,
I guess some all those Coors Lights. I don't know, man. He looked hurt. He looks really
for
hurt.
Sure.
So I don't know.
He is hurt. High ankle sprain.
Yeah, how many people we see with a high ankle sprain miss 4 to 6 weeks? It's like everybody.
Yeah, man. It's not pretty, man. So, but let's break this down real quick here. So similar to the other game here, looking at the same second box there. Prediction here is that Kansas City straight up loses by 2.4 points, but 6% chance that that the game's going to end where anywhere between them losing by 13 essentially all the way to winning by 8. So that is why, going back to the card here, +8.5 and +13.5 are just on the outside of the lower and upper 6% confidence interval there.
Yeah.
So
and I looked for the record, like, hey, let's like do the first interval bet. It's a 190 to do it, so it doesn't meet the criteria. Which is crazy because last playoffs I was cleaning up on the interval bets. Like I think I took almost every single game. It's just this season.
Can you do? It's gonna have to be FanDuel. Correct me if I'm wrong, but can you do interval bets live in game?
Yeah, you can.
Okay,
I've never tried it, but you for sure can.
You for sure can. Okay.
Yeah, because they keep all the odds up. Like they keep all of the. And that's why we use FanDuel. We don't have. I mean, unless you want to shout out, give us a Pat McAfee check, but. We only use FanDuel because all of them have odds, but for whatever reason, FanDuel is dumb enough because apparently they don't think people know statistics. You can parlay them together, so you can literally make an interval. All of the other books don't allow you to do that.
They don't allow that.
Yeah.
So this one's weird, Steve. Obviously, if Mahomes that's going to be the story leading up to it, but. People were, I don't say counting out the Bengals last week against the Bills, but like fucking Joe Cool, man. Like what, dude, this dude, the coolest dude in the NFL.
What do you say? What do you say? Hope you can refund those tickets when everybody's talking about the
you can get refunds.
the Chiefs
that
Bills.
That was cold blooded. Yeah, but yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I'm really bummed that Mahomes going to end up on some sort of injury list for this game, because I think it's wild that the Bengals are favorite, and take them Mahomes out of it, right? I think that may have been a very close game, or very close spread, I should say, regardless of what happened with Mahomes there. But I mean, the Chiefs are 0-2. The Bengals are the Chiefs boogeyman, through and through. So there's something about this they just cannot get right. Yeah. So I mean, you're looking at this EPA, and I think that the Bengals and stuff. You shout out. I was convinced they were going to go under 10 wins, and I was convinced the Bengals were done. You've been calling this out for weeks, saying, hey, listen, man, they are getting hot and they are scary, and that's exactly what we're seeing. After you get rid of the Bills and a potentially banged up Chiefs, I mean, it's going to be a nail biter. I'd be scared of Cincy, and I think the model kind of shows what we've seen, that they are in the quadrant of elite, and they are to be. They it's no fluke. They are there, and they deserve to be there.
Yeah, and really also, I mean, people like overreact to the 2.5, which is why we use the uncertainty in the prediction intervals. Like the model is pretty much saying this is a coin flip game. We're basically saying one team's going to win by basically a touchdown. One team maybe win by a touchdown and a field goal. Like that's not that crazy in a playoff game. The model's really not leaning, that heavily in Cincy, but you can understand why these teams played. They won by 3. I mean, I just wish I would have listened to myself. I think I was on this exact podcast saying plus 1,600 was insane value.
Yeah,
pretty sure. But
shout out.
Yeah, I mean, what did I heard someone say it, or the Bengals players were giving it this moniker. They're going to Burrowhead instead of Arrowhead. They're going to Burrowhead because he's undefeated there. Yeah, he's undefeated against the Chiefs. 3-0, I think, so far.
Yeah, can we actually have this debate? Is Joe Burrow the like better upgraded version of Tom Brady? This dude had arguably the most, I think it's not even that debatable, top 2 offenses in college football ever, and like best college football teams, and then goes to the NFL. He tears his ACL, comes back the next year, just beats team after team after team after team, goes to the Super Bowl, they upset. Then they had all this crazy stuff happen. They get back. Then the offensive line gets re-injured. And then here he is again. This dude is just like, who is this guy? This is the Terminator. This is T10 or whatever. I don't know what movie that was, but this guy's unstoppable.
If they can pull this off and win the Super Bowl, you're gonna hear all the, I think a lot of talking heads be like, he's the standard or the pinnacle. Like Mahomes is the sexy, like everyone's on Mahomes, nutsack basically, no matter what he does. But if he beats them again, and then if they win the Super Bowl, find me an argument that's going to say someone's better than him in the AFC or even the NFL.
I think we could do the GOAT thing. Got to do longevity, right? So to your point, sure. Seth, if he can do this for 9 more years, for sure. If he can do this for 4 more years, getting caught cheating, absolutely, right? Because that's your Tom Brady debate. If he can do it for 4 years with no call to cheating, then give him a crown.
Okay, but I indexed him wrong. Let's go backwards. This dude was Mr. Ohio, winning championships in high school. This dude just wins. Tom Brady's like, he was nobody. He believed in himself. I'm like, no, Joe Burrow is like, he's like Michael Jordan, Michael Jackson, like Mike Tyson, dude. He's everybody in one, and he came off the womb winning, dude. This dude, There's one of my favorite videos. It's because it's like kind of encompasses college, like fandom. There's this video of this kid, and I have no idea anything about this kid, but he's like a legitimate kid, probably like 12 years old, and he's like filming the pregame at Ohio State. And this kid's like, obviously a huge Buckeyes fan, and he's like calling everyone's name out, and he's like, so-and-so, and then he's like, yeah, Joe, get ready, Joe. And this is like Joe Burrow's like the 3rd string quarterback, and it's just him just like pumping up, like. But it guaranteed if they put him on the field, they would have won. They would have won the game. But I don't know, man. Joe Burrow is just the dude. I don't even know.
He's him. He's him.
He is him. And he's got Kid Cudi wrote a song about him. That's how legit this guy is.
Yeah, there's gonna be more songs of that coming out. That's not already out there about.
That's fair.
Yeah, so
Joe Burrow. I don't want to bet him. I don't want to bet against him. I mean, I took that Bills, I'm like, this sucks because like I'm gonna get killed. I'm killing myself betting against Joe Burrow, and I know it. The dude just wins.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, so that said,
Do we even?
I don't know if you're going to, what?
Do we even get any of these this weekend?
Yeah.
I think Philly 3.5. I mean, just because it's closer to what the actual line is at the moment.
Yeah.
I think you have a decent shot of getting that one. But yeah, the Bengals Chiefs game, I don't know, maybe not, but whether or not we're going to get them, I mean, Seth, what do you think happens? Who makes it?
I can tell you a couple things for certain. I've hyped myself up in this podcast this week.
Let's go.
I'm outside of Boy the Board, so just like my personal degenerate betting, I'm taking futures on Bengals. I'm taking the futures on Bengals. I'm betting Bengals money line this week.
Let's go.
Okay. I'm just Burr all day.
Burr.
And I think I've convinced myself that it's smart to I'm probably on the right side of this week. I think if I hedge, I think I'm gonna kick myself. So I think I'm gonna probably just ride that thing, assuming everyone's healthy, assuming AJ Brown's healthy, assuming there's no we don't hear anything. I think I'm gonna ride that thing. I think I'm gonna ride that, and then for sure I'll hedge. I'll hedge a healthy amount and come
Super Bowl.
Yeah, come Super Bowl, and hope I don't regret it.
You feel the same way, Steve?
Yeah, no, I don't think the Philly bet's going to be attainable for a second week in a row. I think this is 0-3. Meaning that or I say no bets. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. Yeah, 3 no bets. I'm sorry, let me rephrase that. And I think all weekend I'll be in Seth's ear, just telling him to take the money he was going to use to hedge on the Niners. Just use that money to hedge on Bengals Super Bowl.
Bengals Philly, you can bet Bengals Philly Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Why not,
so
why not?
Listen, not trying to hype us up, not trying to do whatever, but I think this is pretty set in stone. I'm not going to say anything allowed to jinx anything, but I'm excited about this, and it's to me it seems like it's clear it's going to be Philly Cincy Super Bowl matchup. So we'll see what happens.
And that's Steve saying that, and he hates Cincinnati.
That's an about face right there.
Yeah, I think Cincy's going to go under 10 wins and make the Super Bowl. No. Yeah.
It's bold. What about you, Kevin?
I Philly takes it, and I think Burrow is the Chiefs' kryptonite. I think it's Eagles Bengals, and I don't know. I could see the Philly game be more of a back and forth affair. I'm going to be very, very closely watching that in game. I do think we'll have a shot at it. And I don't know, the Mahomes injury and still weirdness with like the Chiefs or the Bengals' own line, even though that didn't seem to be an issue last week, is there's stuff going on there. So I don't have a great read on that one, because remember what happened last year against these two in Arrowhead. I mean, it was Chiefs tale of two halves basically. I forgot how much they went up by. I think it was 2 or 3 touchdowns.
Yeah,
and then they came storming back and won in OT, right? I think it was.
It was close. I don't remember exactly, but you're completely right. It was a tale of two halves. I mean, Kansas City dominated the first half.
Right.
And
I
it would be crazy. Like, the odds speak for themselves. The consensus here is that this is a little bit of a crapshoot for anybody. Now, we do know this. The books have the highest liability on San Francisco. Basically, from what I've seen in a couple different books, they will make money on every single outcome except a San Francisco winner.
Yep.
So that's where they place. I know Massey Peabody, they really, really, really discredit Purdy. Now, I think they just discredit Purdy because he's not an old white quarterback, as Jeff Mall would say. But, and then, DVOA is interesting. If you go back, here we can, or actually, Kevin, if you can go back for me, to the 49ers. It puts them as the number one DVOA weighted team, which is quite interesting. So it likes the team. I don't know if they're doing any weighting for Purdy or discounting, but I don't know. This is going to be interesting. Yeah. It's going to be a good week.
I agree. I think it'll be 1-0. I think we'll get Eagles, and I think it'll be no bet.
Yeah.
I don't think the Eagles trail after the first quarter.
All right.
And that's only the only reason they say after the first quarter in case SF gets the ball first and gets a field goal.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah. I'm hoping for the Giants versus Minnesota game where Minnesota we were looking to get 7. Minnesota came, they marched down the field. Yeah. You grab the 7.5. You can same thing here. You can grab the 3.5, and then you basically never look back. And you basically are just like you're believing the model that the Eagles haven't had the ball yet, and that's just one score, and then it'll either be a shootout or they'll get their stuff together. Now the interesting thing will be if the Bengals blow out the Chiefs. You'll kind of be you'll have the opportunity to grab the 13.5.
Sure.
What do you do?
Not gonna feel good about it, but you can do it. Yeah.
I will say I will caution anybody that was looking to tail. I will put a big caution out. The tails are probably much less. The 3.5 is probably a more accurate number than the 13.5 here. These tails on those extremes are a little bit different in football or in playoff football because the Bengals. Like the way the dynamics of the game is like we saw that meaningless touchdown on the Eagles. So the upper interval had it at 24, and that would have covered except for that meaningless touchdown. But the thing is, it's not like the Eagles are not going to score that touchdown. It's a playoff game. Like they're just trying to win as much as possible, and the other team can do other things because their literal season is on the line. So have a little bit of caution.
Yeah, fair. It's going to be a good weekend of games. I think no doubt about it.
I think so too.
Yeah. Hey guys, no matter what, okay, if you like what you heard, if you like this content, if you like our social media and everything, please be sure to give this video a like, hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel. We're going to continue to have content throughout the off season as well in some form or fashion as well, but really helps us grow, really helps us reach more people. We're trying to bring value to the community in more ways than one. So liking and subscribing definitely would be a big boon for us. So appreciate anyone who can do that.
Totally agree.
So, all right, boys, it's going to be a fun weekend.
Yes, sir.
It's going to be Super Bowl. I can't believe the season's basically over already, but
sheesh, flew by.
Yeah. Sheesh.
Yeah. It'd be the best. It would be the almost best thing in the world for if this Philly bet goes against me and I lose to like put the last scar on me, like this season, like really like sign its signature. 2022 football NFL season.
When we get knocked down, Seth, we get back up.
All
right, I'm done. That's it. All right, that's enough for us, guys. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Take care.
Yep.